Hello, it is an honor to finally be able to read your toes. So, in toe reading, your right foot represents your external world, how you move through the world, how other people experience you. And your right foot is your internal self, your internal dialogue, the way you take action for yourself, what's going on inside. Your big toes represent your path toes. Your left toe, big toe, is your spirit path toe, and your right big toe is your life path toe. And then the other toes have the same energy. So we have expression and communication with your second toes. Third toes are action. Fourth toes are relationship. And fifth toes are prosperity and trust. And so when I look at your toes, one of the first things that I notice is the longer second toe than your first toe. The second toe is longer than the first toe on both sides. And this indicates that you are a communicator. Communication and expression are highly important to you. Yeah, you are a verbal processor. A lot of the times you need to be able to speak and share and feel heard and understood. And you have a high need to personally express. This can be through the way that you dress, through the way that you move, through the things that you're involved in. And so, this artistic ability to express, all these things that have to do with the way that you personally express yourself in the world. And so, when we look at these two toes, these communication expression toes, your internal dialogue with yourself and the way that you personally express. There's not a lot of blocked energy in here when we look for context's sake between the two toes. We can see that here there's a little bit more of a bulbous part of the toe, and then up here at the top. And we're going to talk about the top in just a minute. Time tracks through the toes. Back here closest to the foot is longer ago in time, and up here at the top is what's happening more recently. So on your left foot here, not a lot of blocked energy. You are aware of your self-talk. You speak to yourself, generally speaking, in a way that is not contradictory or destructive. And so keep doing that. That is a very good thing. You've got some self-awareness here. This is excellent. On this left foot, we see that there were points in your life, particularly at about the halfway point in your life. So sometime in your 20s, there was a moment or an experience or a memory or something that happened that made you feel like you could not express quite so openly and expressively, or you felt like there was something that you wanted to communicate, but you couldn't communicate it. And this could be conscious or subconscious, but at some level, there was something that you were not in alignment with and that you could not communicate with. So I would recommend just gently rubbing this toe here around the knuckle to release some of that blocked energy through this one. So this is more of a point in time or a pinpointable place. So this might be a interesting journal prompt, is to just look back, find the halfway point in your life and then just move out from there. Was there an experience or something significant emotionally that happened that felt like you became constricted in the way that you could communicate or express? Oh, and when I have those yawns or the throat clearing, I think that this is going to be a really powerful reading because there's a lot of energy running. Anyway, pinpointing that at that halfway point in your life right now. On this toe, I don't see anything here that I'm particularly concerned with. We all sometimes don't fully express to ourselves, or we feel shame about some of the things that we express. So there's a little bit of generalized blocked energy in here, but not too much. Both toes could definitely use a little bit of a rub, just moving that energy. It's all about moving the energy. And once you become aware and start to move that energy, it can really clear through pretty quickly. Now, the top of these toes, we see that it is significantly larger than the bottom of the toes. And that is because in the most recent part of your life, there have been experiences and things that have occurred internally and externally where you have had either so much to express that you didn't feel like you could, or you didn't feel like you knew how, or that it was not safe. Something has happened here recently that has to do with the way that you communicate. And so I just want to click over here to your chart. So you've got all this fiery energy up here with your sun in Aries, your Mercury in Aries, your Venus in Aries, not to mention your South Node and your Chiron, but you've got all this stuff happening in your Aries. And then we have chatty Gemini, your moon, very chatty. Gemini loves to talk, to communicate, to share ideas. Okay, so you have this very passionate, very expressive energy. And then you have this Cancer rising here. And this Cancer rising, Cancers stuff it down for the sake of keeping the peace. They want peace, they want love, they want safety, and they oftentimes will do that at the expense of themselves because they want to have safe spaces. They want people to feel safe around them. And especially with this intense energy here, people can experience you as being very intense. And so, your natural way of being may have been to just kind of stuff it. And that is showing up in your toes. This stuffing it is time to be over. Now, that doesn't mean you need to say everything that you think. And as a Gemini moon, you think a lot of thoughts. What it does mean is making a conscious decision about what you're going to communicate and how you're going to communicate it. And I really recommend a journaling practice or some way of using your voice, because that is really important. I'm doing an audio journal is another thing that can be really impactful, especially for people who have a lot of words to say. And so I would highly recommend just gently massaging these toes and asking the energy to release, to be made known to you. What is this? If you need to know it, and if not, to just release it out. So when you massage these toes, pushing outward on these toes, so that you're inviting the energy to just move out and be in the earth. Being grounded is very important for you. I really recommend, when you can, walking barefoot. Yoga is a powerful grounding practice, especially because you're generally barefoot on those mats. And here it comes. When I have those yawns or a sneeze or something like that, it's energy that's being moved through my body that I'm connected with you. So this idea of grounding is a very important thing for you. So that's your communication toes: internal communication, external communication, and expression. Now, speaking of grounding, let's move to the big toe, and then we'll move to these small toes. So this big toe, you want to be grounded here. We can see that with the larger circle pads at the top of your big toes, and wanting to be grounded. Now, when we look at the this side of the toe, how this toe comes up, this is your life path toe. Okay, same thing here. There's a little bit of a turn at the top, but generally speaking, it comes straight up. So this is very beneficial. This you do stand your ground, and what's happened is you have become aware of and or done more stuffing. That stuffing of the emotion is very important as a Cancer rising, that, and with these longer second toes, that you feel and express yourself Very well. So this grounding, we can see here in the spirit path and in the life path, how they're looking a little bit to the past, just coming up and leaning over. And we can see that even on this foot, your left foot, how the big toe and the second toe are coming together. Whereas if this toe is tracking just a little bit more straight, changes always happen in the nail first. And so having this nail be more straight in its alignment here is what we're after. Now, what I would recommend is to, as you consider your life path and particularly your spirit path, we're going to focus on the spirit path toe just a little bit more, is if that came up and was more straight and there created more space, this is leadership down here in the bottom of the toe. When you've got that space between the first and second toes, that is a sign of leadership. You are absolutely a leader. And I really feel, knowing what I know about you and looking at your toes, that really stepping out into the spotlight a little bit more is something that is coming your way. And when we look here at your chart, you do have Saturn sitting right here on your third house cusp that goes into Leo. So a couple of things to note on this. So first of all, Leo is the sign of being out there and seen and creativity and joy. So these are really important things. So you value these things. And Saturn is in here. Saturn is a restrictor. Saturn restricts the energy, not because it's bad, but because we need containers to hold things, to give structure to things. Saturn is like the trellis. So if you have ever planted a plant or seen it, a trellis holds the vine on it. It gives a structure for the vine to grow up. If it doesn't have that, it just goes out. The vine goes out all over, and you don't get to see the pretty flowers. The flowers get stepped on, or it starts to take over your grass. So that trellis is actually really vital. So think of Saturn like a trellis. Now, Saturn might also be restricting. How do you feel about being seen, about being heard, about being a leader? That would be a really powerful question for you to contemplate. Outside of your family, how do you feel about leading? What is your confidence level in yourself in that? Does it make you feel uncomfortable to stand in the spotlight as a leader? Because you are made for this, you are born for this, both with your Aries sun. Aries is a leader, and with this, what's showing up in your toes. Now, again, to this toe, tracking more straight, this would open up the channel of intuition. This is your channel of intuition. And I know that you are already such an incredibly intuitive person. So just imagine for a moment opening up this channel of intuition and what a gift that would be to you. Like seer levels of intuition is what you would experience, especially here where this is on your left foot and this is your spirit path toe. So some questions to ask this toe while you gently massage it and just invite the energy to go this way. I would hold in on this side and just gently nudge the top over this way. Remember, we never want to force our toes to do anything. The whole idea is to invite the energy to move differently. And our toes are the first messengers. The toes tell us what's going on first. So changes can happen in the toes first. So when we see changes in the toes, it's indicative of what else can happen in our bodies, in our minds, in our emotions, in our spirit, and in what's happening in our outside world. So just gently stabilizing here and inviting the energy to move here, inviting that intuition to flow in like like a river, like a waterfall, just flowing in that intuition. And then discovering more deeply, what is your spirit path? What does that look like? Ritual would be important. So having, a routine of some kind of ritual would be an important thing for you. When we look over here at your Virgo energy, which is about routine, daily routine and ritual, this is your part of fortune. Your part of fortune is where your fortune is. And so through this daily ritual, this is where your fortune will open up to come to you. Now, fortune can show up in a lot of different ways. Financially is oftentimes how we think about fortune, and it can also show up spiritually, in our mental and physical health, in our relationships. So fortune is fortunate. They come from the same word, so it's fortunate things coming to us in all the ways. So having a spiritual practice is very important to you. It also helps too with this Gemini moon. It really helps to gather in all the thoughts and come in to a point of focus. So that is going to be very important in your meditations and in your reading and studying and the other rituals and routines that you have to get this toe. What ideally we would like to see are these toenails tracking straight and not looking to the past. Life path. So life path is a little bit more of a grounded toe than your spirit path is, which is not unusual or surprising. And so just grounding throughout. And when you ground, when you walk on the earth or when you're standing in your yoga practice, imagine that grounding. A lot of times we imagine it coming down from our root chakra, but imagine it coming down through your legs, ankles, feet, toes, and having your feet and toes also grounding to the earth in addition to that root chakra. Beneath our feet, we have what's sometimes called the earth chakra, and it sits below our feet, and it's our connection point to the earth. So if you just imagine, a chakra that moves with you throughout your whole life, but it's what keeps you grounded to the earth. And even when you're flying in a plane, we still have our earth chakra. They're keeping us grounded. When you're walking in the water, and I know water is really important to you, that ground chakra is just following you along, keeping you grounded into the earth. So that visualization, I hope you find to be beautiful and comforting. So this life path toe, you are just astrologically where you are. We've spoken about this with lots of the fun things that are happening with, Jupiter in your Aries, that's in its current transit, Saturn just entering. So you just finished here, your Saturn opposition, and Saturn moving here into Pisces. And Pisces takes up a lot of your 10th house, cusp. This is where you're going to. So this spiritual practice that you have in your routines, if you look at these bold lines coming straight across here, and I know you know a little bit more about astrology than a lot of people do. So I can speak in this way to you. And if you have questions, you can always ask me. But your midheaven, the destination that you are going to, is in spiritual Pisces. And Pisces also rules this 12th house where you have Jupiter, the angel on your shoulder there in the 12th house, and your moon, your emotional needs, all in the 12th house, which is the house of transcendence, the house of spirituality, the house of oneness. And that's where your destiny point is in this life. You are going to be moving into a place where you are a spiritual leader. And that's going to be part of your life path. Okay, so this spirit path and life path are very tied together. We know this because we can see how they're tracking in your toes, and we can see it in your chart. They are tied together, and I feel a sneeze coming on, which is just a big confirmation that yes, everything I just said is yes. So really take that into your heart and think about it and consider what that might look like for you as you continue to open up these avenues of spirituality, of practice, of learning. Keep that beautiful Gemini moon mind happy with the learning, and then also remember to focus. And this intuition is going to open up your spiritual leadership and your life leadership. Okay, let's talk about your action toes. As an Aries sun, and you just have a lot of fire, action is very important to you. And so just let's look at the different toes of your third toes. They are significantly different, and we just use that for context. So this is the way that you take action in the outside world, and this is the way you take action for yourself. Now, both of them are straight. Both of them have some blocked energy because, as an Aries person, you've got a lot of energy. There's a lot of things you want to do, and sometimes you can't get it all done, and so you feel frustrated by that. And with that Gemini moon, there's just so many possibilities, so many things you're curious about, so many things you want to do and learn. And rest is very important for you, particularly in the coming months. So right now we're in the middle of March 2023, and in about the beginning part of May, so probably about around May 10th, you're going to need to go into a period of rest for about a month, where you are going to, so let's just say the 10th of May through about the 1st of July, the end of June, 1st of July, a period where you rest. Allow yourself to rest. Give yourself permission to rest. And especially during that time, that would be a great time to release energy on these action toes, because you can see, especially in this right foot, that you have some blocked energy. So this is how you're taking action. So are there actions that you think you should be taking that you're not taking because maybe you just don't have the energy, or perhaps there are other priorities that are taking over? So really look at your values and your priorities. And we talked about this when we met, about how going through your values is really important before you jump to priorities. So identifying what do you value and being very, very clear about that. You are quick to take action when someone else is depending on it, when it is expected by the outside world, especially by those that are close to you, like your family. You're quick to take action on that. Make sure that you honor your commitments to yourself as much as you honor your commitments and action taking to those outside of you. Just when you make a commitment to yourself, follow through on that commitment, and jump for your own action as quickly as you jump to other people's action. This action is one of your greatest gifts in this life, your ability to take action. And that action can look like busy, or it can look like not busy. So many times we get our action like acting busy or staying moving masquerades as action, when really all it is movement. Movement is good. Movement with purpose is better. Movement with intention is fantastic. So in what ways are you going to take action, including taking rest for yourself? All right. Your relationship toes here. These are your relationship toes. And your relationship with yourself, again, I think that this goes back to this communication. Your relationship with yourself is on point. You are self-aware. You love yourself, and stay with that. As an Aries sun, you really, Aries knows that they're awesome. So really embrace that. Really embrace that you are awesome. And a little bit of blocked energy in here, questioning yourself sometimes, The question, am I crazy, comes up a lot. So just massaging that toe and inviting the energy to move on through. Yep, you are great. Your relationship with others, there's a little bit of callousing here on this, and we also see that there's quite a bit more blocked energy in this toe. Now, when we look at where Saturn is in the zodiac right now, so Saturn just entered Pisces, okay? So leaving your 9th house, going over your Mars, and moving into your 10th house. And so Saturn is going to ask you to get more specific, to be more discerning, and to gain some mastery, especially with Mars here. Mars is such an important planet for you because of all this Aries energy. Mars is the ruler of Aries. And so getting intentional with your action and with your relationships. Just deciding who gets to be in your circles and who doesn't. So if you've got the inner circle that's, very, very close family, and then you've got one out from that is very, very close friends or that are like family or other family members, and then moving out. There are some people that might be in your inner circle that you've chosen that don't belong there. They belong on one of the outside circles. These would be people who, after you spend time with them, you feel exhausted because it's costing you emotionally. So just consider, what are those relationships? And then there might be people who are on the outside that it's time to bring them close. So just deciding what that looks like in your relationships. And then when it comes to your primary relationships, you have spent a lot of your life bending over backwards, not doing things for you so you can do them for them, keeping your mouth quiet to keep the peace, doing these things to help those relationships. And it's time for that to stop because it's no longer serving them and it is not serving you. So taking that action and mastering that discernment of where are you going to spend your time and your energy, and understanding that it is okay to say no. It's okay to say no. You don't need to give a reason. You don't need to give an excuse. If it is something that is not going to fill your cup, consider saying no to it. I mean, there's always things like going to your kid's dance recital, just as an example, may or may not fill your emotional cup. If it doesn't, that's still an important thing to do. And, there might be, I'm just going to carry on with this example of the dance lessons, because one of the things that I see moms do a lot is live through and for their kids. I don't necessarily think that you do that. But I would definitely examine, where do you live for your kids? Because stepping away from that living for your kids is going to help you as a woman who is growing into the phase where your children will no longer need you in the same way. And so releasing that. It's a beautiful thing, this leadership that you're coming into in this different way, where instead of having children of your body, you'll have children of the mind that you will also still get to nurture. So as you massage this toe, a question to ask is, who belongs in my circles? Who needs to move between circles? And, this is all mental. This isn't a conversation you need to have with anybody unless your intuition lets you know that you do. But just moving through that relationship and becoming more and more discerning in how you're spending your time and energy and with who. All right, let's talk about these final toes. These are your earth toes. And we talked about these briefly at the beginning when we talked about grounding. These are your earth toes, and they are your trust and your prosperity toes. And when we look, there's quite a bit of blocked energy and this callousing going on. And so that has to do with trust and prosperity. And so I want you to just think for a minute. Here's an exercise for you. So just think for a moment. And we're going to talk about prosperity when it comes to finances and money. And I want you to just imagine in your body where, if finances, money, the energy of money enters your body, where is it on your body? And now I want you to imagine a string from that place on your body. And this string is going to go out and it's going to find where the source of money is for you. And then once you've identified that, then you get to start to consider, how does that feel? What does it look like to have? This is an important exercise for you. It's going to give you some energetic release and some clarity. As it's connected, what is it connected to, and how do you feel about where it goes, where it's connecting into your body? That's going to give you a lot of insight in the way that you interact with prosperity. And we can talk more about what to do with it once you've identified it. But I do recommend some journaling about where it's connected in your body and who it's connected to, or what it's connected to. It's just that awareness that you need, and then you know what to do with it. And I'm happy to help you go through that exercise. All right. And then you've got this callousing here on these toes because you have had some things happen where you did not feel like you could trust. And so you've built up these walls. These calluses are just walls that you've built up around your heart, around yourself, to protect yourself. And we, unfortunately, there's a lot of people in this world that we cannot trust. And so, we don't want to just trust everyone, and we don't want to distrust everyone. And so finding that space that's right for you, I would recommend getting some lotion or oil and just gently massaging these toes to release the energy and to invite more prosperity to you, and to help you discern. That seems to be kind of the word of this reading, is discernment. To discern who are your people that you can trust. Realizing that people are going to let you down. People aren't perfect. The question is about intent, and there's so many other things that go into it, but just inviting more trust, and even more trust for self. I know you have a high trust for self, even more trust for self. One of the things that I'm going to recommend is stop asking yourself if you're crazy, because the answer is no. No, you are not crazy. You are experiencing a lot of very, very sacred and beautiful things that our world has told you make you crazy. And it is not true. Not at all. That's the seer kind of level of intuition that you are capable of, that is showing you things because you can handle it, because it's part of this evolution, and this part of your evolution. So this trust is important. So the top messages from your toes is make sure that you are communicating and expressing, and release blocked energy around times that you couldn't do that. Continue to take action, especially for yourself. Be discerning in who you're spending your social time and relationship time with, and discover where your prosperity is coming into you and who it's, or what it's connected to, and trust just with that discernment, you will be more able to discern who are your friends and who are your allies. Your allies are people you can trust, and they're people that have your back. Not all of your friends are your allies. Keep your allies close and discern between your friends. I just want to see if there's anything. We've talked at length about your birth chart. Just remember to take a rest here in the next little over a month. You'll definitely want to just take some rest time and that's the reading for today. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure.